Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy DevKO22 back with another video. And today's video is it's an interesting one. It's about why I think Bryan is strong right now, or why Bryan is being strong in Tekken 8. It's more of a discussion. Well, obviously I'm kind of having with myself. I'll be kind of going through my mindset on, how I think sort of top tiers I decided and, why characters are strong in general. But also, for those of you who will be watching, what your thoughts are on the sort of things I'm going to cover today, and if you agree or not, and obviously why you agree or why you don't agree. Right now, whenever, well, recently I dropped a tier list, right? And whenever people do tier lists, there's always like a common divide when it comes to what people think makes a character strong. And people have different reasons for why they think a character is strong. Some will be like, oh, this character has this move, so he's strong, or this character has this, and that, so this character is strong. But then other people will be like, oh, but it's only Arslan who can do that, or it's only Ni who can do that with that character. And this video was sort of to try and break that barrier and come to like a common, like come to sort of a middle ground. And I was thinking of doing this video when I was having a conversation yesterday with the Nina player on Twitter. You lot probably know who I'm talking about. It was after Arslan's tier list was dropped, and then we ended up talking in DMs after, and we were just trying to like see where both of our mindsets were when it came to character strength, and we actually agree on a lot of things actually. After talking about it, and I think that's all it really takes sometimes is you guys can disagree, but I think the problem is a lot of people don't actually talk about why they disagree and try to come to like a common ground, or at least understand where the other person's coming from. That's normal in like everyday life as well, but when it comes to Tekken, yeah, I feel like people are either on the oh only he can do it, or they're on the he's strong because of this move and that move, and like it never feels like there's a middle ground, right? Now, Bryan, I'm gonna talk about Bryan in particular to start off with. Bryan has always been obviously a specialist character, right? He has Taunt. Taunt is what makes him unique from the whole cast. It's not just that; it's also his frame data. It's very unique, very unorthodox. Talking about unorthodox, something like down forward one. He doesn't have a generic down forward one. He has this sort of weird down forward one that changes frames depending on what hit there is, and you sort of use that to build like this mental stack on your opponent, right? And that's what Bryan's very much about. It's building this mental stack, conditioning the other person to not press, and then in those moments where they want to press is where now your counter hits will be able to land. So whether it's a forward three, a while standing three, the new edition of QCB1, it's on you to stop them from playing very generic Tekken. So when you see like Dragonov or um, just any like poke based character, they're doing the jab, the down forward ones, a little low poke which high crushes, playing around very small frames. Bryan's very good at breaking that, right? A good Bryan is very good at breaking that. And people think Bryan's strong for many reasons. They think it's they're like, oh, look at QCB1, or his incinerator string, which they have nerfed now. But they're like, it's the forward 1+2, blah blah blah, right? But it's might be a hot take, but also I played Bryan for a while and played a lot of Bryan mirrors, played against a lot of Bryan mains, and I generally think that QCB1 they could make that move -9, and it really won't make a difference to a Bryan player. It will still be that counter hit tool that is fast, that has good range, um, that you'll use for, specifically, obviously, to outtime your opponent. But yeah, the plus frame's obviously annoying, but the situation isn't as toxic as some people think it is. That's a whole other discussion, but it's more just about why Bryan is excelling, and I think it's a bunch of things. And one of those reasons I think is obviously Knee and Low High are doing really well, right? They've played this character for a long time, and I think it's coming to a point where after you've been playing such a character for so long, a specialist character especially, you're eventually going to be rewarded for being a specialist. And this goes for like a job in real life, right? You could be, I don't know, an accountant your whole life, right? Eventually down the line, 5 years, 10 years down the line, you're gonna get your promotion, right? This is how I look at it. You're gonna get your promotion, you're gonna move up, you're gonna get better and better at what you do, right? And I think they're like Low High and Knee, they're sort of reaping the rewards of putting in so much time into a specialist over the years. Now, obviously, Tekken 8 is very different from Tekken 7, right? Bryan is a lot more bloated, but like every character is a lot more bloated, right? And no one can just pick up Bryan and do what these guys do as much as like a character like, I don't know, Claudio or Dragonov. You know, you've seen Atif and Arslan sort of do well regardless of they'll pick up a character in like a week and then they'll suddenly have results within that week, right? That's just because they're very fundamentally like solid, and those characters are sort of easy to play, so all they have to worry about is just learning the characters combos and what's going on the screen rather than the actual character themselves, which is how it feels like when you play Bryan. It's not just you're focused on what's going on the screen, you're making sure you don't drop your combos, especially with like the weird combo drops he has in Tekken 8. But you're thinking more about your mind game, what you're going to do, what your game plan is, your taunts. There's a lot more brain power that goes into playing Bryan, which is why you could say he's not the best tournament character. Well, he is a very good tournament character, but you know what I mean. Like just to pick up and then play. Like, oh, I'm just going to pick up Bryan and play him in tournament. You can't do that. You know. Now, again, that's one of the first reason, like I said, is I feel like all those years are finally sort of starting to pay off because Bryan is in a very strong spot anyway. And a reason Bryan's in such a strong spot isn't just because of, the new moves they've given him. One of the biggest things is Taunt accessibility in this game. Because everyone has, well, they supposedly buff sidesteps, right? And they have, and people are using it a lot more often. One of Bryan's moves, so 1+2, for example, it's way better than FF4 in this game. Like FF4 in Tekken 7 was fantastic. But 1+2 in this game, it's insane, right? It's just one of the things I think is like really underrated. You have a homing tool, one of your best homing tools, which has two extensions. It has a high extension, which goes into sway, and then it has a counter hit extension mid, right? So it has that mind game first of all. But if 1+2 lands, if they don't tech roll, if they don't press 3 and tech roll, they'll get hit by a heat burst for a full combo for a lot of damage, which will take you to wall and put you in another situation. But he also, if they are tech rolling, you can run up and do taunt because they're trying to avoid the heat burst. So it's a true 50-50. So stepping against the character, if he has like a read or if he decides to use 1+2 a lot, it's a scary thing for you because you want to be stepping this character in certain situations. Like you want to be avoiding his QCF 1+2, his QC back one, in like the tight situation where it's like back one and hatchet, you want to avoid like down 2 or down forward 1 or down forward 2. But it's always this risk of if you do, you could eventually end up in a taunt situation. Now I think what low high and knee having accessibility to something you put so much time into over so many years is just always going to play into your advantage, right? Like this is the reward of specializing on a character for so long. I think that's like one of the main reasons he's just super strong right now. Obviously, QCB1 is like the most perfect tool they could have given Bryan, just having this sort of mid-range counter hit launcher. The plus frames I don't really think are that relevant, but it's just more, again, it's the range thing. Before you would have to use something super linear like 3+4 in T7, but it used to give you a knockdown. Or you'd have to try and get close to them. And again, some characters you don't really want to be doing that, and you'd have to do forward three. Or you'd have to time them as they come in, or in like those small jab situations, while standing three. That you don't need it. All of that has sort of gone with the addition of QCB1. So that's one thing about T8, which I don't think they've done well, is that they've sort of taken away a lot of weaknesses for a lot of characters, which is another reason why Bryan is so strong, right? He used to have a terrible power crush, even season one, terrible power crush forward 1+2. But then they decided to give him up forward 1, mid power crush with a bit of high crush, and it gives you install. Just showing you again, you just see it on the screen. Another example of just random taunt situations. You can just cook out thin air from just back three into cancel. Obviously, you're sacrificing damage, but that's what it takes to go for taunt, because the reward is just so worth it. Nice, nice talk. I think this is death. I remember this is dead. Yeah, I remember watching this live, this set, and it was just the teabag. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Such a good set. But now what I was talking to with that Nina player about, it was about the potential of a character is what people, or like myself from my tier list, is sort of what I also look at when it comes to deciding strength of a character. And Bryan is one of those characters who has such a high skill ceiling and so much potential to be a top tier character, which is why he's doing so well. But when people say to me that, oh, or when people use the point of, oh, only Arslan can do what he does with Nina, or only Lohai can do what he does with Bryan, it's like that whole thing actually has to go, because these guys aren't robots. They are human, and they are just showing you what the ceiling looks like with their character, which means anyone can accomplish it. It will take a lot of time, but it shows you that it's possible, right? It's not just my character can do that. Like, people have made some stupid comments on Twitter, like, I don't even want to go through it, but well and truly anyone can reach these heights. Well and truly, if you really wanted to put in the time, you could, right? So it's not just, oh, like, obviously Bryan is super difficult to play. His game plan, playing consistently, new monitor on the day, playing on PS5, lag, input delay, like playing on different setups over and over, playing a character like Bryan is just a detriment. Like, it's horrible. I promise you, the amount of offlines I've gone to, and I'm just playing on like a different setup all the time, and you're just dropping all your combos, all your taunts just feel different to how it feels obviously at home. Like, there's so many more cases where it's just not in your favor than it is in your favor when playing Bryan. Which is why what Lohai has done, what Nia has done with Bryan has been so incredible to see, because it's not just, oh, I'm just gonna spam my OP moves and blah blah blah. Like, a lot goes into it. Uh, like, you look at Anna on the screen, like, Atif just decided to pick Anna up because she's just look at it, like, just look at what's going on the screen. The character is super strong, quite easy to play. There's not much stress. It's just very, down forward one, two, and then a lot of mix ups, and then you at this point, this goddamn two counter hit jab as well. I went this counter hit low into engage. Like, there was just so many tools this character had. Wait, that combo works. Anyway, yeah, there were so many strong tools Anna had, which they've nerfed quite a lot now. Which is why he decided to pick up Anna anyway. What makes Bryan strong is like the whole point of this, and I think the main thing that makes Bryan strong in this game is, again, accessibility to taunt, or like the taunt setups that you can create, which I think is really cool. Obviously, he's got insane tools. It's not like he doesn't have what block. It's not like he doesn't have insane tools, but a lot of people don't really understand Bryan, and a lot of people just sort of repeat whatever they see online and just call it a day there. They think, oh, Bryan's broken because of Taunt Heat Smash, or Bryan's broken because of just Incinerator, and I mean, and then they'll point will be, just look at what Loha is doing, but they really don't take into consideration that he's been playing this character for God knows how long. And this character could, again, everything could be gutted. If he still has his down forward one, his forward three, his taunt is exactly the same way it is, he would perform exactly the same. He was just very strong in season two, plus him being a strong player, plus Bryan taunt being the way it was. You know, amalgamation of all those things obviously played a part into you know, Knees and Loha's success with the character. But again, I think it's just super interesting, like the whole conversation about like the potential of a character is a super important factor when it comes to deciding like the strength of a character, and it should obviously be taken with a pinch of salt. Like you look at someone like Mishima's, right? They could be doing 13 frame electrics or could be hitting perfect electrics all the time, but it's not realistic, right? And you've never seen it. So there's a fine difference. There's like a fine line between in what I'm saying, where it's like if you've seen this, so we've seen Lohai do what he's done with Bryan. We've seen Arslan do what he does with Nino, right? Not every we don't see any Nina players. Like look right there, right? That wasn't even a taunt setup, but he knew in his head that that combo. Well, now that it's dropped, I've got the frames to just go run up and do this. Like, there's so many situations like that with Bryan now, which I think is like one of the strongest things about him. But yeah, like I was saying, not many people play Anna. I mean, not many people play Nina, right? And only really Arslan has done well with the character, and that was like again the taunt setup, right? And that was one of the things said Nina player was talking about was like, oh, only Arslan has done this with his character, and the character has to take a lot of risks or whatever, or doesn't have many good lows or like slower, oh sorry, faster lows. He was saying how Nina needs to like interact a lot more and whatnot, right? But it's not about what the character needs to do, it's about what's being done with the character that's important, right? Having a great player like Arslan on a great character like Nina, complete character, regardless of whether the character is unorthodox, which I think to an extent she is. I do think I keep saying Nina is a bit more on the difficult side to play, especially when it comes to like execution and your game plan can be, you're needing to interact a lot, right? But it's very safe interactions, but you're still interacting a lot, right? So you're giving your opponent information a lot of the time. But the character again has its own unique thing, which I think is so important with your higher Shida step and a lot of your lows and stuff having extensions and your down forward. Like the mind games that Nina has isn't generic like a lot of other characters, right? And that uniqueness is what he plays into. It's the same way Lohai and Bryan play into Bryan's unique thing, which is Taunt. So when it comes to character strength, I think it's important that people realize that it isn't just, oh, my character, this character's strong, and only this player can do anything with this character. Like people need to get that sort of out of their head and realize that the ceiling is being shown to us. Like we are seeing live what these characters can do, which is why they are so strong. Like right there, at least what I was saying before, he didn't tech roll because he knew, like in his head, he was like, he plays Bryan as well. He's like, oh, Loa's probably gonna run up and do a taunt, so let me just not tech roll. But what that led to was him getting heat burst into a massive combo. Like there's a whole mind game there with this homing tool, which is super strong. But again, you're being rewarded for using your homing tool, which is I don't think it's a terrible thing. I don't think it's overpowered. We've got characters who have goddamn plus on block homing tools. At least his isn't plus on block. Just the situation that it could lead to is quite deadly. It doesn't lead into like some random mix up as well. Uh, but yeah, I think that's what makes Bryan, what is making Bryan super strong right now is his accessibility to Taunt in this game. But yeah, um, going back to one of the points I was saying earlier as well about how, you know, only a certain character, only a certain player can do what he's doing with the character, and how I was saying, that sort of needs to go. Again, even that, there's a fine line. There's a fine line to that because some characters, because well, in T8 the thing is every character is strong, right? Which is why every character is viable. But there are genuinely some situations, some cases where, some players are carrying certain characters, and some characters are actually just not strong, but the player is just incredibly strong. And a great example is like Rangchu. Even in T7, I believe he won with, Panda, and I don't think Panda was like any form of top tier then. In T8, he won with Bears, but Bear was he won with Kuma. With Kuma was like pretty strong at that point, but I wouldn't say he was the strongest character. At that point, he did have like a lot of chip damage and a lot of just nonsense in his toolkit, like chip damage was just like the name of the game, right? And he excelled in that, and Rangchu took advantage of that because he knew and he played into that strength, which again is an important point to make. Is that what you'll notice a lot about these people and these specialist characters is they know how to play into the strength of their character. So Kuma's strength at that point, you could even argue Kuma is a specialist character as well. Um, he's super unorthodox, no movement, like just very weird character, man. Weird stuff with his stance, his hunting bear stance. It's just not a generic character, right? But again, he played into the strength that Kuma had, which was his chip damage, and it worked out in his favor. So again, what I'm trying to say is, I think it's really showing you how important it is, or how you can be rewarded for being a specialist, because you know your character through and through better than anyone else does. You know what your character lacks, and you know what your character is strong in, and then just depending on the patch, you will play into whatever your character excels at within that patch. So again, we'll go back to Bryan, for example. FF1 plus 2, Season 2, just an insane move. The main thing that kept Bryan like just consistently strong throughout games and matches was not only was his heat so strong, and his heat covered so many of his weaknesses because of forward 1 plus 2. Forward 1 plus 2 was like, again, such a perfect move to give Bryan because he doesn't have like a backswing blow, he doesn't have a Horang back one, he doesn't have a Kempo, right? He doesn't have anything unique in that sense where you can avoid certain situations using a button. It's very much eat this mix up, use your defense, use your movement, and guess, right? And the problem with this game is that there are so many forced 50-50s. So in that sense, they knew what they were doing, where they were like, all right, we're going to give Bryan here a god parry, very overtuned parry, but it stopped him from eating these forced scenarios, these forced plus on block homing moves, these forced 50-50 interactions, Lars doing den free in your face into it will, even though there were options to, and there are still options to beat FF1 plus 2, it would limit a lot of those options, those other options, and force you to use certain options, which then played into the Bryan's favor because it's like, okay, I know you want to use High Crush, I know you want to maybe counter hit me for using FF1 plus 2, so now in your brain it's like, okay, it's most likely they're gonna go for this option, so I'm just gonna defend that low that you're gonna do from your den stance, which would counter hit launch me if I'm going to do FF1 plus 2, and just block it and keep my parry. So now you have to, and then you were constantly stuck behind this barrier of I don't want to take my mix because of FF1 plus 2, and it was just perfect for him. And then the main thing was that he kept it off the heat dash as well. So you would use all your heat moves, you would chip with FF1 plus 2, you would do forward 2-1-2. If it would land, you'd eat like 50 damage. You know, you had so much space, and then at the end of your heat, you'd be like, all right, it's time to either heat smash and get plus frames and keep install, or do QCF1 plus 2, heat engage, potentially land that launcher, do a million damage, and you're probably dead at that point. or I'm just in your face plus with my install. And so now you don't even want to press again, you don't want to step again because forward 2 and 2 tracking and FF1+2 coming at you. Like, it was just so much mental stack having that parry and that install behind you, which I think, again, was such a good change that they got rid of it because it was too much to deal with. Right? Wow, what a step. Yeah, forward 1+2, man. But yeah, that's what makes Bryan strong. Again, it's an amalgamation of things, but the main thing at that point was his install, his taunts. But again, don't let it go over your head that it is just the moves and the state of Bryan, which is what is carrying Bryan, because that's definitely not the case in my opinion. Anyway, I think it's the skill that they've acquired over the years is paying off because of how they've designed the game, or how they've designed Bryan in this game, which is giving him a lot of opportunity to do what he should be doing best, which is his taunt, which is his thing, right? Whereas with other characters at that point in season 2, like Asuka, they took away this whole needing to be defensive and, keep our character with these great parries and, yeah, like super good defensive character, and suddenly turned into a rush down, chip damage, insane damage, spike combo, flipping just menace, or Claudio just being a goddamn install character with super safe buttons with insane tracking, and like the mind game was super simple. Like when they're at the wall and they can't step aside direction, you're gonna use down 4-3 and you're gonna hit confirm into 1,000 damage, and it's gonna wall splat you from range 10. And like yeah, they took away a lot of weaknesses characters had, and just gave them stuff to compensate for that, which is again what they also did with Bryan, right? But Bryan had that extra advantage of having this thing called Taunt. So this is, again, I keep like sort of repeating the same things, but I really want it to like sink in for you lot, and I hope you lot understand where I'm coming from, where it's a lot of things, but it's something I don't see, or what people don't understand because they don't play Bryan. And it's just them being rewarded for specializing, being a specialist. It just happens to be that Taunt is way more accessible in this game, and a good Bryan who's been practicing it for a long time is gonna take full advantage of that and play into their strength. So it's food for thought. What is the strength of your character? What does your character do best, and how do you play into that? And I think that's definitely one of the things I learned, or one of the things I've been thinking a lot more about recently in general, even when watching, because I watch a lot of like low, high, and knee, and just a lot of Bryan players gameplay in general, always trying to see what I can improve or do next. And yeah, I'm sort of starting to realize what I should be doing a lot more and what I should be playing into a lot more. And it's definitely opened my eyes and has made me play a lot better as well. Like I've been playing a lot of Bryan off stream, and again, it's because I've been enjoying season 3 Bryan, because he's less unga bunga and he's more, you need to be focused on your taunts and not wasting your heat, because you get to keep install after, and he's doing a lot less damage as well, with the heat nerfs as well, or with the install nerfs anyway. But yeah, that was just sort of the thought process. He went for it down 2-3. That was just sort of the thought process, and sort of like my, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, my thoughts on why Bryan is strong and why he's been doing so well. I know there's going to be some people who are going to completely misinterpret everything I've said, even though I think I've explained it pretty well, and they're probably going to be like, "Oh, like you're downplaying Bryan and whatnot." But if you really listen to what I've said, it's not downplay. It's just a different point of view on what people have been discussing so much recently. I hope it sort of opens your mind up as well on maybe how you think your character operates, and maybe what you're not doing and should be doing, type of thing, right? Um, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was interesting. I hope I didn't bore you too much. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.